guys, how's it going? I'm back with another 10 metal bands you haven't heard but should. It's been a little while. One, some things have been delayed, and two, there's, as I mentioned before, a lot of housework going on here, so it's been a bit demotivating. I've now at least got access to my sound system for CDs. My vinyl and tapes are still kind of inaccessible, so that sucks. But anyway, first up, we have Hagzissa, who are an intense as hell black metal band. This is their demo, or promo, however you want to call it, their demo tape from last year. Iron Bonehead put this out, and as they recently released their first full length, which is also on Iron Bonehead, it's just really killer. It's got this nice mix of classic black metal and some kind of weird experimental riffing mainly, and it's just really driven. It's got this really nasty energy. It's very unsettling, so check out Hagzissa. Their new, like I say, their new album's out, but this demo is also great. Next up we have Muspellzheimr. They've also recently, or no, it's not out yet, but they've got their new album coming out very soon on Amalfati Productions, as this was released on. This is the second full length, as I mentioned. It's just really, it's got this huge wall of atmospheric black metal, but not in a way that's kind of pretty or polished. It's very kind of ambient, ringing out, much like a lot of the Icelandic bands like Sinmara and stuff. It's just like this cavernous sound. It's sort of weirdly both very tranquil, like you can sit and relax to it, but it's also quite disturbing too. Next up, an international band is Darvaza. This is their EP, their first of 3 EPs on Territor Productions. It's a excellent mix of black metal with some death metal elements, but aesthetically and sonically it's still got that very ritualistic sound, but the death metal touches just give it this kind of bombarding feel. It's really intense, it's really driven and evil sounding. It has this, the sounds really match this occult look of it as well. So check out Darvaza. Like I said, they've done 3 EPs, they're all really good. They look great together. I only have this one, which is the first one, the Downward Descent. But they look great and sound great together as a trilogy. I believe, I can't think what label it was, but a label did all 3 together on tape. I don't know, check out Metal Archives or something. Next up, a bit of a change from like ritualistic and kind of quite sparse black metal is Sadokist or Sadokist from Finland. This is more along the lines of their countrymen Impaled Nazarene, with a very kind of thrashy, punky, speedy, almost war metal, I guess, take. It's black metal, but with everything else thrown in it in the kind of fashion of the South American bands. It's incredibly heavy, really in your face. There's nothing relaxing. This is the Dark Ritual Productions version. They did 200 tapes, which, if anyone else has this tape and has not listened to both sides, on both Metallum and Discogs is listed as being single-sided. It is not. The second half or the last third of the album is on the B-side, so I'm not sure why that's the case. But anyway, that doesn't really matter. Listen to Sadokist from Finland. It is ridiculously heavy, blasty, black death or black thrash goodness. Next up, another tape. If you like old school death metal, like in the sort of take of like Skeletal Remains and Master, and of course classics like Obituary and Morbid Angels, early stuff. This is Ectoplasma. They're Greek, I believe. This is the Morbid Chapel Records. It's on the front, that's why I couldn't find the logo. Tape limited to 100. They've also got a new album coming out, which I recently reviewed on my blog. It's really good, but I got this from a, I think Italian distro for like a $5, so really good score. It's got kind of the meaty, like mid-tempo riffs of like Bolt Thrower and Obituary, but then with some nice kind of death intricacy, I guess, as in the band Death. I really like Ectoplasma. I think they're actually, this doesn't feel like a modern band doing old school death metal, whereas a lot of them do, which isn't a bad thing, but this actually feels like it's been out a long time, especially with the looks. I'm not sure what year this came out, does it say? This version's 2018, but I think it was like 2015 or 14. but definitely check out Ectoplasma if you like death metal the way it was in the early 90s. Next up, this is definitely a contender for my very top albums of the year. This is I've listened to this so many times since having it. Mylingar's Darvaza, which is spelled like this. I believe that's how you say it. Swedish is weird to me, but I've always known that as hue. So if you're Swedish, tell me how badly I butchered that. But I'm going with Darvaza by Mylingar. It's released on both 20 Buck Spin and Amorfati Productions. Mylingar had a EP, which was insanely good. Then they had a first album, which was insanely good. And now they have a second album, third release, which completes the Döda trilogy. And this, for me, completely tops it off. It finishes it in the best style. It's nightmarish, claustrophobic, utterly relentless black metal with plenty of death metal influence. It's really bass driven as well, which is different. A lot of black metal bands are more trebly with that kind of tinny rawness. This is really bass driven, really low tuned, so it has this kind of bellowing sound that only adds to the like nightmare fueling soundscapes that they produce. My favourite track on it is the opening track, Oberlansen, which has this midsection with this like super discordant riffs throughout, but especially in this midsection, then some samples, total chaos, and every time it just gets me like pumped up. So check out Mylingar with Darvaza, 20 Buck Spin, Amorfati Productions, definitely in my top 10 albums of the year so far. Next up, another demo tape from Iron Bonehead. This is Sedimentum's demo. It's their first demo, I believe. There's another label did LPs, because it was out digitally on Bandcamp for a while. Iron Bonehead picked up tapes and someone did LPs. I can't actually remember. But this is 4 tracks. It's like 13, 14 minutes if memory recalls. If you like the kind of death metal like Rotted and Malignant Altar on Maggot Stomp, or that kind of really old school brutality, like with really kind of chuggy, meaty, cavernous riffs, like really guttural, horrible vocals. It has that real kind of sewery sound, like Undergang and stuff like that. A lot of the extremely rotten artists, that's what I was trying to think of, from like Denmark and Finland. This is just utterly filthy death metal. It's just simply called Demo. Like I say, I'm not sure who did the vinyl, but you can get the tape from Iron Bonehead. They're limited to 200, and in 14 minutes, this is just devastatingly heavy death metal. Now, for a while, there's not been much doom metal, but here we have a very good doom metal album. It's quite sludgy. It opens like this by Saturnalia Temple on Listenable Records. I'm actually seeing them at Cataleptic Rites next year, which is going to be a crazy event. So very ritualistic bands of death, black, and doom. It has like Misthemings, Fated Auri, Andervald, Saturnalia Temple, Dread Sovereign, of course, Abduction, Vemod, Nornaheta. Who's the headliner again? It is Vemod. And there's a load of other good bands anyway. Drotin. I know I'm missing one of the main bands, so... Wolven Nest, of course. Don't know how I missed that one. But yeah, it's going to be great. And Saturnalia Temple, they play this kind of... I use the term stoner doom lightly because it does have the kind of drony, kind of stonery riffs, but not at all in a way that feels like, say, Orange Goblin or something like that. It has this really occult feeling to it. So again, very ritualistic, and it's also incredibly catchy. Like, it's the kind of album you can stick on over and over again, like a Sabbath album or a Candlemass album, and it just, that same impact and hypnotic feel just keeps you involved with it, and I really like that about Saturnalia Temple. It's like nearly an hour long, and it stays entertaining, whereas some doom records, they can drag on a bit. In like, if there's like a weak riff, that riff seems to last an eternity, but this really good. Next up, another thing I bought from my buddy Steve, who I mentioned when I bought the Abyssal CD off him. It's another thing he got twice because I don't know why. Ripped to Shreds from California, although I assumed that they were an Oriental band because of what I believe to be Chinese characters. That looks like Chinese to me. I may be very wrong, but that doesn't look like Japanese to me, and usually bands go for Japanese, so I'm going to go with Chinese. If I butchered that, I'm very sorry. It was released on Pulverized Records, who are of course a really good underground label from Singapore. 4 tracks of Swedish style, you know, that HM2, chainsaw, buzzsaw, whatever you want to call it, death metal. It has some like doomy flares to it that gives it that cavernous approach, but it is overall very much Swedish death metal done really well. Excellent lead guitar work, as I said in my recent review on the last song. For me, that it was a really good EP, and for me, that guitar solo just made it stick out. It was memorable, melodic, but it's got tons of catchy riffs, pounding D-beat drums, gruesome kind of snarly vocals. I really enjoyed this, so check out Ripped to Shreds with Demon Scriptures is this release name. Finally, I have the hype sticker here as well, because this is quite exciting for me. We have a Transcending Obscurity release, this time the new Warcrab album, Damned in Endless Night, with this really nice... Canal's done a great job of upping the production with these kind of like shiny, heavy as hell digipacks. I really like these, so props to him, great label. And if you can see on the hype sticker, they actually used a quote from me referring to it as awesomely heavy. Never had one of my reviews on a hype sticker to my knowledge, so that was really cool for me. Warcrab are an English band. They're a really interesting mix of like bolt thrower, obituary, that kind of like mid-tempo again, death metal with some thrashy touches, but then they also throw in these like huge sludgy riffs, much more along the lines of, say, their label mates Eramet or Conan or whatever, with these like really groovy pounding riffs, which works with death metal so well. And it surprises me more bands don't actually do it like this, because Warcrab have this just huge riff-driven sound. It's pounding, it's crushingly heavy. They're incredibly good live. I've seen them locally actually a couple times. So I think Warcrab are definitely one of the good bands to check out in the UK. Hopefully we'll see them more at places like Bloodstock. And yeah, check them out if you like death metal with plenty of groove, because they spare the grooves, or they don't spare on grooves. I hope you guys check out these bands. It's got some more kind of strange releases in here, like the Mylingar and Hagzissa albums that I think the stranger of you will enjoy more, like I did. I've got quite a lot of stuff ordered for the next episode, but you know, with postal services, you never know how long till they'll arrive. So hopefully these 10 albums will keep you tied over. I think it's a phrase, I don't know. But hopefully they'll provide entertainment and plenty of good riffs and beats and grooves and growls for you guys to listen to. Thank you for watching, and until next time, stay metal.